Welcome to Ron March Show. We were just listening to Brother Jack McDuff. He's out of the Midwest, Champaign, Urbana, in Illinois, Danville, Illinois, around Decatur, Illinois. The brother was tough in his day. He went on to the nightclub in the sky. He's not with us anymore. His name is Brother Jack McDuff, and the tune is called Rock Candy. We'll play a little bit more of that a little later in the show. All right. Today's date is August the 29th. It's been a very swift and powerful, informative month. The entire month. Been unbelievable. I have enjoyed it. I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad that you guys have been a part of it. Because without you, I wouldn't be here. So I want to continue to bring you good information, raise your consciousness so you can deal with this world that's changing as we speak. You must remember your spirit is changing. You have no control over your spirit. None. Your creator deals with all of that heavyweight stuff. So you just might as well sit back and enjoy the ride. Some of us will make it to the other side and some will not. But you can't say you didn't know because we have told you all about it. We told you it was coming. We gave you all the information or some of the information that you need. Some of you took it, some of you didn't. So I can't do any more. I can take it to the water, but I can't make it drink. So let's get down to business for today. Now, today's show, we're going to deal with mortgages. We're going to talk about securitization. Securitization. What is securitization? Okay? I'm dealing with a computer that I'm not that familiar with. If I want to change, see how I can get out. I don't see how I can get out of it. If I push this down, escape, nope, that ain't doing it either. But if I take this out, how do I get this out? You have any idea? That enlarges it. Yep, it makes it bigger. Let's go with what we have on the screen. Securitization, as it is being used today, is illegal. It is illegal. And, okay. You didn't show me how to turn it off. All right, good enough. Yep. Okay, securitization, minimize it. Then there you go, I can keep minimizing it. Securitization, as we use it today, is fraud. It's crooked. It's illegal. It really shouldn't work. However, several people have went to jail dealing with securitization. What it amounts to is, I was trying to get a good definition, because what it amounts to is taking a note or a secured interest. Remember, I talked about secured interest. Taking a secured interest and monetizing it and selling it on the open market. And they'll hold it, well, actually, they collateralize it. And then they sell it on the open market. So if I tell you I have a piece of, purpose paper that is expensive, I show it to you. I tell you it's worth $100,000. I sell it to you for $75,000 at a discount. Okay, you're going to hold on to it. Meanwhile, I got this from an individual who's making payments on this paper, and as long as they make payments, the paper can stay alive, but because it is collateralized. Once they stop making payments, the paper goes down to zero. Okay? Now, when the person that bought it for $75,000 realizes he's got a problem, he's going to ask for his money back. He wants to be recuperated. Recoupment. It's a kind of a business banking process that Enron, a lot of people that was dealing with Enron back in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, they went to jail because they were collateralizing stocks, documents, and taking in money that they didn't have, almost like a advanced pyramid scheme. So anyway, what they're doing today is along the same line. They're taking your ticket item, whatever that ticket item may be, that ticket item, such as a automobile, a boat, airplane, mortgage, a house, and they are selling the note after they collateralize it. Once you close and start making payments on $100,000, that note will become $100,000 in 30 years. So it's a good investment for someone to purchase it for $75,000 because they're in their retirement mode and they won't need it for another 25, 30 years. And then when they get close to retirement or get ready to retirement, they can cash it in and have a nice what they call it, an egg basket full of goodies. Well, it all sounds good on paper. I was fortunate enough back in the 60s when I came to Detroit in 1964. I got a job at Chrysler Corporation. They were driving Deuce and a quarters, 65 Deuces, 65 Bonnevilles, 65 Catalinas, 65 Impalas. Everybody was leaning, talking out of the side of the neck, had their portable 45 exchanger in their cars, and heat and leaning posts. They were ready to go. But I went into the bank and asked for a loan to buy a 65 Continental. Not Continental, Catalina. Pontiac. It was big also, right next to the Bonneville. Well, the banker told me, very politely, I didn't have enough collateral. Well, what he didn't know, and I told him, was I just got out of the military. I had approximately $6,000 in Hawaii's credit union. He almost fell out of the seat when I said that. He said, "What?" I said, "Yes, you heard me. I got about $6,000 out there, and I was saving it, for certain things." He said, "Well, I tell you what you can do." This is when I first got invited into this process. He said, "You give me the name and the address of the credit union. I will send a bond. You'll sign it, and I'll send an affidavit and a bond to Hawaii. They will send me, or they will put a hold on. I think the vehicle was $2,700. They'll put a hold on the vehicle, $2,700, and once you pay it off, you'll be the luckiest man in the world because number one, you'll still have your $2,700 with interest. You'll also have the automobile that you just purchased. So you really haven't lost anything. Everybody's happy. I'll make my money on the interest rates that I'll charge you up front." So he pulled out about $3,400. It just came to me. He pulled out $3,400 on a 3-year mortgage plan or a payment plan. I forgot what my payments were. But anyway, it was all set up. When I paid that car off, I had in 1968, 67, somewhere along in there, when I paid it off, I had a nice car, free and clear. I had my $2,700 plus still in my credit union out in Hawaii. and everything was hunky-dory. He was happy because he made his money. Now, that's the way all notes are supposed to be dealt with. It's almost basic. In other words, if I borrow money from you and give you an IOU, because you're going to say I need collateral because I don't know you that well, so you got to give me something. So I give you IOU. Well, you say, well, the IOU's good, but I still don't know you. So I say, well, what about that guy right there that you know, right there in the bank? He said, yes, I know him. Good guy. I said, if I get him to sign, can I get the money then? He said, oh, yes. I know he's a good guy, been around here a long time. Everything is hunky-dory. So the two of us sign. I tell him I'm going to get $2,700, but I'm going to pay you $3,000 back. Everything's good. Now, when I pay the $3,000 back, the first thing I want is my IOU. He may tell me anything. I just lost it. I think I wrote a note on it and gave it to my daughter to take to school. She needed a note. All the negatives. And I say, well, I'm sorry. I cannot pay you the $3,000 I owe you because you can take me to the bank, take me to court, and the courts will make me pay you again. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, no. This was a business transaction. No friendship here. So I would take that money and keep it until he gave me my signatured ink signature, not a copy, my ink signature IOU with his friend's name on it. Call that the wet ink signature. Now, you got to understand this. It's not difficult because they've been cheating you ever since you've been on earth. Now, remember, at my age, the process was changing when I got mine. I probably was one of the last that got a real loan. You would call a real loan. Because he didn't put up anything. The bank, they never put up anything. Never. When you bought your home, when you bought your car, whatever you did, once you securitized it, quote unquote, once you took credit, it was automatically paid for. And that's the part that gets everybody confused. They cannot, for the life of them, understand that your signature creates collateral and monetizes any document you sign. Even the credit card. Every time you sign your credit card slip, every time you use your credit card, you have to sign a promissory note. That's why a credit card is the easiest debt to write off because they cannot prove that you have a debt. Because you don't know all the places you used your credit card. You could take one trip and come back and write a letter to the credit card company and ask them to validate the debt. They can't do it. They don't know where you went. They may see on the paperwork that you was in Louisville, but they don't know where that slip is. It would take them to get that $20 you spent for a sandwich or Burger King or something. It would take them damn near $100, $300 just to get that one slip back. I don't believe you understand the severity of this. After going to the meeting, our seminar last week, my mind has been spinning on all the corruptness that this system has been doing to me. And with my background, I can pick it out because I know a little bit about banking, a little bit about mortgages, enough to see that they've been ripping me off. And if they're ripping me off, they're showing up tearing you a new one because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You just so happy to get the new car or the new house, you don't think about nothing. And then, out of your idiocy, you'll have throw a party when you pay off the house, talking about I'm gonna have a burning mortgage party because I paid my mortgage off. And that's one of the most ignorant things I've ever heard of. You gave them 3-4 times as much as the house is worth through penalties and interest, because they always take their interest monies off the top. When I borrowed that $2,700 for the car, he didn't pull $2,700 down. He pulled $3,400 down. He took his $600 right off the top. And I'm not sure about the numbers, but I'm trying to give you an example. He pulled that money right off the top. When you use your credit card, when you make your payments, all you got to do is look at it. They take that interest rate right off the top. If you pay $100 on your account, you don't get $100 assigned to your account. You get $100 minus the interest. That's about the only honest thing they do, and that is to snatch their money off the top. You really got to know what you're looking for and what you really see when you're dealing with this stuff. I'm telling you. But, if you're not concerned about it, then there's no need of even listening to the show. If you're not concerned about getting out of debt, because you don't really, how can you owe anyone? All credit reports are fraudulent. All credit reports are fraudulent. When they send you your report, that's mail fraud. When they send you that report in the mail, that's what you call mail fraud. You can sue them for that. No credit that you have, no matter what it is, did the quote-unquote creditor, and I'll call it quote-unquote because he's not the creditor. He has always been the debtor. They tell you that Sears and Roebuck is the creditor. They give Sears and Roebuck a right. The slave, Sears and Roebuck is the slave. They give the slave the right to sue the slave owner. Think about that. No slave has ever sued the slave master. Only in America. And only among ignorant people. When I say ignorant, I'm talking about those that are not in the know. It shouldn't be. But what can you do? If you don't know, you don't know. Let's move on. Let me see if I can. There you go. Let me see if I can go back to securitization. Securitization is illegal. The process of homogenizing financial instruments into frugal securities so that they are sellable are the securities market, on the security market. That's what securitization is. Securitization is the process of homogenizing financial instruments. So I call it collateralizing, or monetizing financial instruments into frugal securities so that they are sellable on the securities market. They make your promissory note look like the real deal. Mine was a real deal. Yours was a real deal, is a real deal, but you never get your promissory note back. So they make money twice on you. Number one, you close, you sign, you give them a contract that made you a tenant in that home that you just bought. So you became a tenant. Why did you become a tenant? Because number one, you live in the house. Number two, you just gave it back to the bank. So you're really a tenant in that home. They didn't tell you that. That's a violation of federal law, or better yet, the Currency Act. Violation of the Currency Act. I'm going to give you some of those violations in a minute. They take your promissory note. Now, they already own your house because they told you they're going to keep your promissory note. When you pay for it, they're going to give it back to you. First thing they do is collateralize, monetize your promissory note, go to New York, send it to New York, and sell it on the securities market. Here's where a trick comes in. They never take your promissory note to New York. They take a security and swear that the security is, once they monetize it, they swear that the security is worth, let's say your house $100,000. And they sign an oath under penalty of perjury that that's what happened. Now, if that happens, that's a shady area, because if it's done correctly, they can do it. But the law says they must destroy the promissory note. Once they destroy the promissory note, the mortgage goes defunct because there's no note to go with the mortgage in order to foreclose or to give you your note back, because they destroyed it when they flipped it and made a security out of it. That's not hard to understand. You should be able to pick that up. That ain't very difficult to understand. And they get away with it. Now, the only reason they got caught prior to Obama going in office, prior to the stimulus package, only reason they got caught because the economy dropped. Once the economy dropped, payments slow down. Once payments slow down, it damages the mortgage-backed securities. This thing is deep, but you can see it. I'm looking right at it as I explained it to you. You take 100 oranges, put them in a barrel, squash them down, and make orange juice. Okay? Now you're going to label that barrel mortgage-backed securities. As long as payments are made on the back end, the barrel remains mortgage-backed security. If one of those mortgages in that bundle goes defunct, you got, what did I say, 100 mortgages in there. If one goes defunct, it's like a rotten apple in a barrel. All of the barrel goes defunct. So now you got $100,000 that is not paid, and they will lose $1 million on the total cost of that bundle that they sold to China. Because China, you can't unmake lemonade. You take the bad one back out and give it back to a person. Are y'all understanding me? You know, I see Andre. Maybe check with Andre out there. Andre, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Am I making sense?
Plenty of sense. You cannot make lemonade.
You cannot unmake lemonade. So what they do,
that's right,
they'll start making payments on that bad note so they don't get caught. Did that for several years, and they kept paying, and then they stopped. The bank said, well, we're going to stop making payments to the bank, but we got to pay the interest because we owe it to somebody. So they started paying interest. Then they figured out that they didn't have to pay the interest, so they started paying the taxes. And you can't get around taxes because your register of deeds and your city municipal systems are not a part of these crooks.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're in big trouble because more people get laid off, more of the mortgage-backed securities look like rotten apples or rotten oranges. The more rush you keep saying, hey, wait a minute, something ain't right here. The money ain't coming in right. You done slowed down on payments. So what did they do? They came up with this stimulus package. They caught up, and you talk about trillions of dollars. I think the last count I heard was $7 trillion they had. Can't even visualize $7 trillion. And all they did was backed up those rotten oranges to buy time. See if they couldn't get the economy to start working. It didn't work. The economy's still not up to snuff because the only jobs they came up with was Burger King and White Castles. So that wasn't enough for them to purchase homes. So they called hell. And they catching hell. So it got so bad that the United States tried to cover themselves, which was Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They sued 16 banks that were doing this madness. 16 bank corporations. And when they did that, all hell broke loose because the banks scrambled so that, try to follow me on this one, Andre. It was a twofold screw. The bank screwed Fannie Mae to the left, and the mortgage companies screwed the borrowers to the right. So we're talking about the same monies. That's right. Now they're really in trouble. So what did they do, Andre? They said, we're going to pay you off and plead guilty and cop a plea, and you can't tell nobody what we did.
And you get your bailout.
Yes.
Oh boy.
It's ungodly. It's ungodly. And they're still doing it. Because the penalties, they done paid off the big stuff. So the penalties that they get caught with, they'd rather pay the penalties now than stop cheating the people. Now the people that they say 78% of all mortgages were securitized. And we know from the lawsuit against Fannie Mae that 16 banks pleaded guilty. And these banks were the biggest banks in the town. So that means that the companies, or better yet, the mortgage companies are still doing the same thing, but they're willing to pay the people off because as long as the people don't know what they did and they can keep it a secret, nobody will sue.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yes, sir. Now, this one lady who was fighting for Where's My Note, she went through 5,000 documents that she scrapped. I don't know how she got them. She got a hold of them from the lawsuits and put it all together. She figured out what the crimes were that they pleaded guilty to, and it ranged from, it was a variety of charges that RICO should be used by everybody when they sue for their compensation for their homes. But it's such a tedious process. If you don't know how to do it and what to do, you're going to have to pay some money, because I'm preparing myself. I lost two rental properties on the same process, and I'm getting ready to sue, hopefully, and hit the right vein and get all my money back. Because when the lady threw her suit in, that I'm talking about, they gave her $95 and made her sign a gag order. $95 million. What am I talking about? $95 million, and told her to keep her mouth shut or she will go to jail. But now, since the government stepped in, I think the government even took her case and realized she brought up stuff the government didn't even know. So the government hit the gold mine when they told the government, stop, don't dig no further. We will pay. We plead guilty. We'll pay off. And by doing that, and since they had her case involved, now she can go back and get $385 million that's laying on the table with her name on it.
Wow.
It's hard. It's madness. When I just got up this morning preparing for the show, and I saw it, I read my article, and I said, "Oh my goodness!" I just fell backwards. I said, "What the hell?" Oh, it was deep, unbelievable. Yep. When you sign a mortgage note, it comes under UCC Article 3. After securitization, it comes under Article 8. That's when the cheating starts. See, securitization really is not illegal. But what they do with securitization, it fades from legal color of law to totally illegal. And they think that scheme is so powerful that they're willing to take a chance to keep doing it, and the government knows it, and the people don't know it, so they say to hell with it. By the time the people figure it out, we may be out of business, or the country may come to whatever. I don't know. We'll worry about it when they come. It's unbelievable. Under U.S. law, securitization is illegal because it is fraudulent. If it starts out securitizing, it's supposed to stay securitizing, and that promissory note is supposed to stay in check all the way through. But you cannot monetize it, because the federal government's got a law that if you monetize it or collateralize it, you must destroy the promissory note. It's automatically destroyed. So once you do an audit, I want everybody out there to hear me. I can do audits. I know how to get audits done. Let me put it that way. I don't do it personally, but I know how to get them done. So if you got a mortgage and you're having trouble, or you've been put out of your house, you need to get an audit. And the audit will tell you if the promissory note was securitized. And if it was securitized, it does not exist. So if you can prove the date of securitization and the date of eviction are two different dates, you got them by the old kazoo. Follow me? That's some deep stuff, ain't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm telling you. It's unbelievable. And I don't mean a $60,000 house, you're going to get $60,000. You got penalties. You made payments. You had possessions in the home when they came and threw your butt out. You don't know you had that. You had my $6,000 shotgun I lent you. You ain't paid me back for that. You know that in. My wife lent you that fur coat, and she let you use her diamonds. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Man, I'm telling you. Okay. Instruments such as loans, credit cards, and receivables are securitized. Enron was involved in securitization, and someone brought charges against them. But almost all large corporations are doing it as usual, business as usual. However, the banking system and the government are also doing it. See, like I said, the government didn't know what they were doing until that lady got involved in it. And when they saw what she was doing, the government said, "Whoa, wait a minute." They ripped us off. We want that $7 trillion back. And I mean, think about it. Think about the arrogance of a corporation. You just got caught cheating people, and you got the nerve to say, "Yeah, okay, we'll pay the fine and here, blah, blah, and we're going to keep on doing it." They probably made the money back already.
No, they did.
They do not want to give up that income, that money income. And people are none the wiser, because if the economy starts booming again, don't nobody care. They don't care. They'll keep making payments because they got the money to make the payments. And they definitely don't want to fight, because, fight ain't in everybody to fight.
Yeah, everybody can't do it.
Yep. This one lady, Jean Keating, you might have heard her name before, brought a RICO suit against the bank. But it was thrown out. Now, what does that tell you?
Yeah, don't talk about Jean Keating a lot.
Yep. But he would have done better now that he knows more about it. See, people are learning as we go along. And that's what I was telling my paralegal. We don't want to leap out there too soon because there's so much information coming in. We need to make sure we got our ducks in a row.
In a row, yeah.
Yeah. And all it is all accounting. Whether it is the bank, civil, or criminal court, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. And once you realize that the court system, which is the judge and prosecutor and or the attorneys, they don't use the prosecutor a lot because it's a civil case, they're all crooked. They are all in favor of the mortgage company. And the mortgage companies pay them well to put their careers on the line to represent them. Because once it comes down the pipe, they're going to throw everything on them lawyers. That's how dumb they are. And Trot was one of the biggest crooks in Michigan, because not only did they have representation for the mortgage company, they had a servicing company known as Process. I got it in one of the orders. Loan Processing Service. Those were the ones that were supposed to start collecting monies from the people. That's a conflict of interest. And they only told the people what they wanted them to know, because if the people filed complaints, they used the robocops. That's what robocops, robo-signers. That's where they come from. These types of servers that know they're crooked, so they have robo-signers standing by. So when they ask for these certain things and they want ink signatures, they use a clause in Article 3 known as lost or damaged note. And they tell you what you have to do in order to produce one. And you got it under oath, and then you got a whole lot of small stuff. But this is just
madness.
Yes. Yes. And if you try to tell somebody, they look at you like you're crazy. And then if you keep talking to them, they say, "Well, what you going to do about it? I don't know about it. You're telling me about it. Can you get mine back?" Well, yeah, I can get it back, but it's going to cost you money. I can't do this on my own, by myself. Time, you got to dig out all the paperwork, a whole lot of stuff. But I'm working on a process that I'm going to streamline it so well that anybody ought to be able to file it just like you do a credit card. Just file it in federal court, because it's got to go through federal court, because the mortgages belong and the corporations belong to the federal government. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
It is all accounting, whether it's banking, civil, or criminal. FAS 125, securitizing accounting. FAS 140, offsetting of financial assets and liabilities. FAS 133, derivatives on hedge accounts. D, FAS 5, FAS 95. See, I'm going to look up this FAS. I don't know what that stands for yet. But they set up the gap. They set up GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. All banks are supposed to use GAAP and GAAP.
Is that what the gap insurance, when they say gap insurance, is that what they're talking about?
Yes. General accepted accounting principles. They're supposed to check when they do an audit. They're supposed to go in with this GAAP principle and use it to check the books to make sure everything is copacetic.
Right.
The banks are mandated by Title 12 USC to follow GAAP and GAAP. They have a local ASB and an international IFASB. They also cover derivatives. FAS 140 relates to UCC. I sent you this last night. UCC 3-305 and 306. Did you get?
Yep, I got
it.
Yeah. I got it. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting read.
Yeah. See, Jonah proved a point to me, and that is the system is our system. It was set up by us to protect us. I know this is hard to believe, but everything I'm telling you is on the books. Jonah showed us that when he brought out the Currency Act. Everything we need to get free financially is in the Currency Act. But the name of the game, they don't teach us how to read legalese, and they hold back on information. I would bet you most people don't even know what a Currency Act is. And surely when I say 1864, because that was the last time we put a currency together to protect us, because the Europeans took over in 1865 after the quote-unquote Civil War. So you know they wasn't going to create nothing that was going to hinder them. So what they had to do was hide, trick, and miseducate everybody on what was on the books, because they wasn't allowed to change the books. That's why they were known as statutes at large. And that wonderful word that I forget to use so often. Have you ever heard of stare decisis?
No.
When I heard that the first time, I looked at Bobby L. I said, Bobby, what did you say? He said, stare decisis. I said, are you pronouncing it right? Are you kidding me? I ain't never heard that shit before in my life. He said, look it up. I looked that baby up, Andre. You know what it said?
What?
It's a protection on statutes at large that they can never, ever, ever changed or challenged. Because they're stare decisis, which means that they've already been tried, and tried again, and they can't break it. So they just put it up and call it stare decisis.
Wow. Ain't that about
Are you
nothing?
close? Ain't that something? Are you close to a dictionary?
Actually, I am. Give me a minute here. I'm going to pull up my Black's Law Dictionary.
All right. I want you to take a peek at that. I told Bobby L., I said, man, good God Almighty. He said, yes. He said, everything we need is already on the books. He was talking Jonah Bay before I knew Jonah Bay.
Before there was Jonah Bay.
Yep. I didn't realize that brother was was so up on it, because you know how Bobby was. Bobby stayed with the history of the Moors more than he did commercial and stuff like that. But when you get it up, I want you to look up stare decisis. S-T-A-R-E. Stare.
Stare decisive?
Yes.
Okay.
D-E-C.
All right.
All right, stare is two words. S-T-A-R-E.
Mm-hmm.
Second word is decisive. D-E-C-I-S-I-S.
All right.
What is it?
Looking it up now.
Okay. All right. They're decisive. And see, this is why the judge...
Wow, the book.
Yes.
This big, gigantic book opened right to it. I got it right here. Wow.
Okay. What did it say?
Stare decisis. Man, this is a long-ass definition. Here we go.
All right.
To abide by or adhere to decided cases. Policy of courts to stand by precedent and not to disturb settled point, which is what you just said. It's been tried and tried again. And then they got a couple of cases here and there. Neff versus George, 364. Illustration 306. 4NE, 2D, 388, 390, and 391. Doctrine that when court has once laid down a principle of law as applicable to a certain state of facts, it will adhere to that principle and apply it to all future cases where facts are sustainably the same, regardless of whether the parties and property are the same. Horn versus Moody. Texas Civil Appellate, probably. I think that's what APP is. 146 SW 2D 505 509 510. Under doctrine, a deliberate or solemn decision of court made after argument on question of law fairly arising in the case and necessary to its determination is an authority or binding precedent in the same court or in other courts of equal or lower rank in subsequent cases where the very point is again in controversy.
Yes.
And it's got a few more court cases in here, and
the
explanation basically is the same. It all basically says the same thing. That the decision has been made, no matter what.
Yes, and you can't change it. And if you can find one that's close, you can use it on any case, any court that you're in. You can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And judges hate it because and you know lawyers hate it, but judges hate it
because it has to stand. Because it has to stand,
Yes. And if it don't stand, you got grounds for appeal. Mm-hmm. You know, judges do not like to lose an appeal. That's some heavy stuff, ain't it?
That's heavy as hell. Yeah.
They're decisive. I ain't never heard of it.
It's my first time hearing of it.
Yeah, they're decisive. All right. The note is not under a negotiable instrument anymore. So they're talking about, we back up. These are resource materials for understanding this process. The note is not under a negotiable instrument anymore. It is a security. Once they collateralize it, it becomes a security. And once it becomes a security, it's no longer a note. And they can't foreclose on you because they don't have a note or to match with the mortgage. Because the note, let me see how they say that. The mortgage is like the tail of a dog. It follows the note. The mortgage is the instructions on what to do to pay the note. Mm-hmm. So the note's the dog and the mortgage is the tail. So when they destroy the note, the mortgage is automatically destroyed.
Wow.
So how are you going to foreclose? And this is on every mortgage. This ain't on one or two or you know, pick a company, a bank and this bank, not that bank. No, it's on every one of them. Every one that they securitize, they breaking the law because they don't do it right. When they did mine, from Hawaii, that was a proper securitization. I got my money back. I got the interest on the note. I got the note back, which was the bond, and I got interest on the bond. They got interest on my payments. They took the payments out of the first payment or two because they didn't borrow $2,700 on my money. They borrowed $3,400.
Because you had the collateral. Yeah, because you had the collateral in the Hawaii bank for that. So to cover that, it's kind of like my secured credit card. I had so much money put up, and I borrow against that whenever I decide to close the account, I get my original investment back, or my original money that's in my account back. So I kind of get what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yep. But
so they've been screwing people over all these years. Boy.
Yes. Yes.
People have gone to their grave.
Yes. Yes.
Man.
The note is not under a negotiable instrument anymore. It is a security. All the banks follow these standards. All of them are crooks. They set up GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. These are mandated by Title 12 USC to follow GAAP and GAAP. They have a local FASB and an international IFASB. Also cover derivatives. You know how them derivatives are. I don't even want to go into that. If you want to instruct them on how to do offsets, you have to refer Refer them to FAS 133. We back up. FAS 140 relates to UCC 3-305, 306. If you want to instruct them on how to do offsets, you have to refer them to FAS 133. If they don't know the accounting regulations, can't give them the proper instruction for settling and closing. What you really want is recoupment. So if they can't do what you say you want them to do, and I'm just looking at that and saying, give me my promissory note back, you are entitled to recoupment.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what recoupment is. Let me move it up. Recoupment. Yeah, jump too far. I'm using a new computer and a different computer. It's not new. I'm having a little bit of problem. Okay. Here's what recoupment is. The recovery or regaining of expenses applied to set off. So you can get back what you gave and what you are entitled to. Ain't that what I said? When I paid mine off, I got back what I gave them and everything that I was entitled to. I had the car paid in full, and I had interest on my money. The withholding for the equity part are all of something that is due. This is all equitable action in admiralty-style instruments. Black Law's Dictionary talks about, and this is what I just said, IOU, a memorandum acknowledging a debt. See also due bill. A due bill, see IOU. A site draft. Now this is interesting. A draft that is due on the bearer's demand, that's me, demanding, or on proper presentment to the drawer. And see, last night when I sent you that info, I did not give you a definition of the drawer or the drawee. I'm gonna have to go back and add that in there. I did do pretty good on the definition.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that obligor and obligee, I got to do that. So I got 4. I'm gonna put in there. Obligor and obligee. Some deep stuff. And a draft is an A draft is an unconditional order signed by one person. And see, that's the promissory note that you give them is only signed by you. The drawer directing another person, the drawee, to pay a certain sum of money on demand or at a definite time to a person. The payee or
it says here the person who draws a bill or draft is the drawer. Definition of drawer: the person who draws a bill or draft. The drawer of a check is a person who signs it. The person who creates or executes a draft, that is, issues it, and in signing the instrument gives the order to pay contained therein. The drawer engages upon dishonor of the draft and any necessary notice of dishonor or protest. He will pay the amount of the draft to the holder or to any endorser who takes it up. The drawer may disclaim this liability the drawer may disclaim this liability by drawing without recourse. UCC symbol 3-413 parenthesis 2. Now the drawee is the person on whom the bill or draft is drawn. A person to whom a bill of exchange or draft is directed and who is requested to pay the amount of money therein mentioned. The drawee of a check is the bank on which it is drawn. The drawee of a check is the bank on which it is drawn. When drawee accepts, he engages that he will pay the instrument according to its tenor at the time of his engagement or as completed. UCC 3-413 parenthesis 1. So that's the definition of the drawer and the drawee.
Yeah. See, we need, and I know they don't teach legalese. I never seen it. They probably do, but it probably is mixed in with another course. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So we need to get somebody that can read that stuff. Maybe Betty can do it a little better. You know what I'm saying? Or understand it. We all can read it. We all can read it, but we don't understand it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're talking about this is colorable. Who is holding the debt? The due bill is like a sight draft. They are not saying from which perspective it is a debt, from theirs to yours. See, when you give them your promissory note, you are the creditor. They are the debtor. Because they owe you that note back. You gave them the note that paid for the house. When you pay for the house, you get the note. You're supposed to get the note back. I think that's what the way it goes. And that's what they call a sight draft, because what you gave them was a one-signatured contract or one-signature check. And see, that's what a check is anyway. Come to think about it. It's a sight draft, anybody's check, or a money order, because nobody else signs it. Now, once they sign it and cash it, that's when they become the debtor, because the money is not their money. That's where I get confused, because they didn't do anything. What did they do? What did the banks do? They didn't give Sears and Roebuck the money for the Cadillac or for the car. The bank cashed it. They used your credit. They pulled off your account to pay for that.
Your creditor,
Yep. Where and why did we have to use a bank? What did they do? What did a bank do? Nothing. Now, if they got a credit card, yes, they give you a 16-cent plastic piece of thing called a credit card, and then they will keep track of your spending. So they do the accounting. So let's say that's about $10 a month, for example. What else did they do? How do they get involved when you go out and spend $20,000 for a motorboat? What did the banks do? Did they give you the 20,000? No, they did not. Did you see the 20,000 coming from the bank? No, they did not. Where did it come from? It came from your private account. Because when you filled out your application, you gave them your EIN number, and they had access to your SISQ account. And once they get the money out of there, it's automatically paid for. Now you're making payments to the bank. Bank ain't had no boat. And see, here's the bottom line. There's nothing wrong with that. Only they didn't tell you they was getting ready to screw you. They didn't give you full disclosure. They make you think that the bank gave you $20,000. That's why you must, every time you get a bill, you must ask the bank to verify the debt. We need you to verify. We need in writing that you screwed me.
Yep.
Now, when he comes back with a letter talking about the pay history and the agreement, see, that's what they send you back, pay history and agreement. That has nothing to do with the $20,000. You need to do we talked about it last night, Andre. You need to do an administrative procedure.
Administrative process, yep.
Yes. Man. You see how powerful this information is? And all of that come out of Saturday. Jonah was talking about that on Saturday. But you got to be creative to think. And as I talk to you, you're beginning to think and see how they're screwing you.
Mm-hmm.
A due bill is like a site draft. They are not saying from which perspective it is a debt from theirs to yours. The party receiving the IOU is the debtor. Whoever you gave your promissory note to was the debtor, because the IOU is an asset. It's worth something. They give you nothing. It is an instrument. You are the originator. You have monetized their system with your signature. Ain't that what I've been saying?
Yep.
Same thing on the live birth record. When Mama signs that paperwork, she monetarizes it. Mm-hmm. And once she gives up the power of attorney, they can put any amount they want on it. She don't know the money's in her account. So what difference does it make? Whew. Ain't that something?
Well, boy. It's crazy.
And you are in an asset, and you is an asset instrument, asset instrument, not a liability instrument. This is one of the places where you have your perspectives change. When you got that promissory note and you sign it, you are the kingpin. You're the top of the line. And when you give it to them, you're still the top of the line, because they haven't done anything. Nothing. And it's already monetized because you signed it. Under the Constitution, the government was not given authority to create money. It is a power reserved by the people. Article 1, Section 10 restricts the states from making gold coin. So the corporate government has to rely on deception of people to create money. Ain't that something?
Mm-hmm.
So the way money is created is with people sign an IOU or promissory note. Promise to pay. It is not a debt instrument to the one who created it. It is actually an asset. Woo! Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Man, oh, man. Well, telling you, man, this is very eye awakening. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Very eye awakening.
They've been getting away with it for so many years. That's the crazy thing about it.
Yep. And
that's what John means when he says we're illiterate, because we don't. It's not that we can't read words. We can't comprehend what this legalese and all this stuff is.
Yes. Yes. So now I got 100. Let me see. If we have any callers. On the wrong. I got the wrong job. Let's see if we have any callers. We don't have any questions. And this is kind of
Ron, you going in and out.
And it's good. Oh, so let me get over here closer. Wow.
Yeah,
that's better?
Yes,
Still
better.
losing
Yeah.
me?
No, it sounds better now.
All right, good enough. All right, we got questions for the bank. I'm gonna get off of that for a minute. It's a request to admit, and you're writing this to the bank, or you're asking the banker. You are requested to admit, for the purposes of this proceeding only, the truth of the following facts. I won't read them all. I'll just tap at them. What was the purpose of the borrower coming to the bank? The answer would be for a loan. That's why I came here, for a loan. Were the funds to be paid to the alleged borrower or seller of the house? The check was written to the seller. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't, because I don't go to the bank. The real estate people goes to the bank to get those checks. The check written, does it represent the asset of the bank? It did not. Better yet, I do not know. The check written, does it represent an asset of the bank? Are you following me on this, Andre?
Yes.
Okay, good. Is it a bank policy to first deposit money into an account before writing a check on that account? And the bank would say, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Where did the funds originate to fund the check? Answer, what do you mean, originate? Did the bank originate the funds for the check, or did the borrower originate the funds for the check? Again, I don't know. The money came from a pool of money at the bank. Now we know ain't no money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, according to your understanding of the agreement, do you believe the bank or borrower was the originate the funds to issue the bank loan check, or did issue the bank loan check? I think the bank was the one who originated the loan. To the best of your knowledge, where did the funds originate from? From a liability. Really getting complicated. So you say a liability. Yeah. Banks have assets and liability. Can you explain to the court the difference between an asset and a liability with respect to a mortgage? Answer, an asset is something you own and can sell. A liability is what you owe. Is it your position, your own mortgage? Is it your position you own the mortgage note? Yes, the bank owns it. Did you issue a check based on the value of the mortgage note? Yes. Then the asset you used to issue the check, was that a mortgage note? Was that of a mortgage note? Yes. Is it your belief that the bank has a standard operating policy? I think so. Are banks' bookkeeping entries in conflict with banking laws? No. Are banks' bookkeeping entries in compliance with banking laws? Yes. Are you aware that in this country, banks can lend money? Yes. Wow. Trapping them. Does the law provide what kind of money the banks can loan? I don't know. I am not an attorney. Is there any particular definition of money under that act? I don't know. Is it your position that your bank loans the kind of money reported by the act? Yes. Is it presumed that the bank will not act unlawfully given the nature of the laws governing activities? They didn't answer. Do you know what money looks like? Yes. Can you describe what money looks like that was to be loaned to the borrower? Yes. Please describe what money looks like. The witness, the bank describes greenbacks. Is that all the money in the United States you are aware of the banks using? Yes. What is credit? The same as money. Wow.
Wow.
How much was the
wow, really?
Yeah. Ain't that something? How much was the loan? $100,000. Is that $100,000 in cash or cash equivalent? Is that $100,000 in cash or cash equivalent? Yes. What did the bank have to loan the borrower in order for the bank to legally own the promissory note? You're really trapping them now. Want to know? Yeah. Is the bank? If the bank refuses to loan $100,000, is it your position that the bank still owns the promissory note? If the bank refused to loan the $100,000, the bank would not legally own the promissory note. Was the borrower to loan the bank anything? No. Was the borrower to deposit anything? No.
Man.
You know, it sounds crazy. What we're really talking about is what the people in the bank really know about. And the answer is nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You did?
They just there to get a check, do a job, and get a check.
Do a job. Whew. Was the borrower to loan the bank anything? No. Was the borrower to deposit anything? No. Was the borrower to exchange the promissory note with credit in the borrower's transaction account? I never heard of that before. This 165 questions, which I won't go through all of them, but you get a gist of how ignorant the banks really are. And It's not the banks that are ignorant, it's the people the bank hire. They don't want a genius down on the counter.
That's by design. That's by design. Yep.
By design. They always hire idiots. Question for the bank auditor or head accountant. Are the bank bookkeeping entries to correlate to the bank loan agreement? Yes. According to your understanding, who owns this promissory note? The bank. Was someone to loan something to someone according to this paper? Yes. Tell me who you think was the loan actually exactly. Let me see. Tell me who you think was to loan exactly what to whom according to this. The bank was to loan $100,000 to Mr. Victim. In your opinion, do the banks today, when making loans based on mortgages, part with a asset when they grant loans when the banks pay the seller of the house or the alleged borrower? Yes. On 2/28/87, the moment before, the second before the mortgage note was signed, did the bank have the funds to loan the borrower? Yes. Where did the assets come from? From a pool of bank money. That's where they always get them. What pool of bank money? Did the bank assets decrease by the amount of the loan? I don't know because I do not review the bank booking entry. On the standard bank loan, if the bank loan an asset, would the bank asset decrease by the amount of the loan? No, not at that time. Okay. Not at that time. Where am I at? When will it not decrease? When the bank replaces the borrower's promissory note with the depositor's cash. Oh, is the bank actually non-cash or opposed to the check? Normally, it is a check. Do banks' liabilities increase if these checks is deposited at a bank? You know, you see where they're going. You see where they're going with this. I won't read anymore. They're just questioning people that work in the bank, and it looks like they had them on the stand, and they were supposed to, like cross-examine these individuals. And in so doing, they come up with all these silly, unfounded answers. So that gives you a little idea of what you're working with when you're dealing with these mortgages. Unbelievable. Let's take a quick. Can I take a quick break? And I'll be right back. Let me see where I get this music. Oh, there you go. Take a
Front Room is proud to present America's most.
All right. Be right back, Andre. Back. That brother Jack McDuff tough. That's all I can say. That brother's tough. How you like that, Andre?
Oh, yeah, it's jamming, man. I got to have your old music back up in there now, too, so.
Okay, you going to put some more back in?
I'm about to get your station identification drop in there very soon, too.
All right, that'll work. Okay. All right, we about got a half hour left. I'm wondering if there's any callers that you may have questions on your mortgages. I'm coming from the nitty-gritty, and you need to know what I know prior to them setting up a foreclosure. Everybody makes money. I think it's a $4,700 payoff on every eviction for time and trouble. $4,700 the mortgage companies pay. So if you're in a foreclosure, it's not too late to win, but it's too late to stop them from doing what they're doing. I have not found a silver bullet that will make them back up and leave you alone. I'm searching for it. Once I get it, I'm definitely going to use it and let everybody know about it. But I don't have it. But I will tell you that the mortgage companies realize that they are crooks, and they have been caught. Federal government ordered 16 of the nation's largest mortgage lenders and servicers to reimburse homeowners who were improperly foreclosed on. There is a national home mortgage lawsuit that's out there. And they tell me that if you get a hold to it, go to Exhibit G. And Exhibit G will give you most of the violations that they were caught with their hands in the cookie jar. I do have a copy of the mortgage that I could send you. If you email me, I could send you a copy of it. But all in all, there is they were found guilty. No, they wasn't. They were not found guilty. They pleaded no contest and settled out of court. Government regulators also directed the financial firms to hire auditors to determine how many homeowners would have avoided foreclosures in 2009 and 2010. Citibank, Bank of America, J.P. Morgan, Chase, and Wells Fargo. Those are five big ones. J.P. Morgan, Chase, that's one. So there's four big ones, were among the financial firms cited in the joint report by the Federal Reserve, Officers of Thrift Supervision, and Office of the Comptroller of Currency. That's the gentleman who determines who violated the Currency Act. And every one of those banks violated the Currency Act. The Fed said it believed financial penalties were appropriate and that it planned to levy fines in the future. All three regulators said they would review the foreclosure audits. That's what I'm telling you. You need to get an audit if you are interested in a relatively long lawsuit to get to be compensated for getting put out of your home, no matter what the circumstances. Because the federal government had programs set up to catch up with your mortgage payments and your behind mortgage loans. And the banks saw fit not to use them. Because again, they could make more money by putting you out because they could get new promissory notes. It was a racket. It was a RICO racket. And don't forget the judges who approved to put you out when they did not have the proper paperwork, and they knew they didn't have the proper paperwork, but since you didn't bring it up, they didn't care. And most of the attorneys that you hired were afraid to bring it up. So it was a three-ring circus. In the 4 years since the housing bust, about 5 million homes have been foreclosed on. About 2.5 primary mortgages were in foreclosure at the end of last year. Another 2 million were 90 days or more past due, putting them in risk of foreclosure. Critics, including Democratic lawmakers in Congress, say the order is too lenient on the lenders, and I say the same thing. House Democrats introduced legislation Wednesday that would require lenders to perform a series of steps, including an appeals process before starting foreclosure. I want to know what abuses the government agencies identified, which banks committed them, and how their proposed consent agreements is going to fix these problems. That's what Elijah Cummings of Maryland, black Democrat from Maryland, that's what he said. He's a ranking member of the House Government and Oversight Committee. Based on what I have read, I am not encouraged at all. The other lenders and service providers cited by agencies included Ally Finance, Aurora Bank, Everbank, HSBC, MetLife Bank, One West Bank, PNC, Sovereign Bank, SunTrust Bank, U.S. Bank, Lending Processing Services, and MERS. Now, Lending Processing Services is owned by David Trott, that bastard from here, from Detroit. Detroit here. Trott and Trott. He owns Trott and Trott.
Yeah.
That's where you heard it from. He owns the Lending Processing Service. He's the one that started introducing the robo-signers. Citibank, in a statement that it had self-identified, needed changes in 2009, and that it has helped more than 1.1 million homeowners avoid foreclosure. We are committed to working with our regulators to further strengthen our programs in these areas and meeting these requirements, the company said. Ally Finance, formerly known as GMAC, said it had not found any incident where a homeowner was foreclosed upon without being in significant default. Isn't that a catch-all statement? Without specifically identifying incidents of bad foreclosure, the government agencies noted in its report that the deficiencies in foreclosure processing observed among these major services may have widespread consequences for the housing market and borrowers. John Taylor, Chief Executive and National Community Reinvestment Coalition, a consumer housing watchdog, said the government's action is a year too late. It does little to help those who are just now wrestling with a foreclosure and those who have already been displaced, he said. Rather than moving swiftly to seize people's homes, the bank should have done a better job helping people lower their mortgage payments through modification programs. This should have happened a long time ago, he said. There are so many people who, if they have received a meaningful modification, could have stayed in their homes. Isn't that something?
Wow.
Yep. I'm telling you, man, it's when I read it, and it was several articles, I just went bonkers just printing them out. Mortgage fraud process. If you have original closing mortgage documents available, you'll be able to flip through them and see what the mortgage companies has done to defraud you. The two main documents that I will be referring to will be the note and the deed of trust, or the mortgage. The note is commonly referred to as promissory note. However, it is not a traditional promissory note. First thing that I'll tell you is that at the end of this mortgage fraud settlement process, which takes 2 or 4 months to complete, faster if you need be, based upon your individual circumstances, you will have free and clear title to your home. The reason I say
they don't want that.
No. The reason I say that with confidence is because you are the rightful owner of your home. Look at the deed of trust. Your name is on it. You've already paid for your house. It was paid for in full before you even signed the papers at escrow. You didn't even know it, nor was it disclosed to you. See, that's the part that you can get them. They never disclose to you what they've done, good, bad, or indifferent. 9 times out of 10, it's indifferent, and they never disclose that to you. The promissory note starts out referring to you as a borrower. It talks about the borrower's promise to pay. Following these words, it says, in return for a loan that I have received. After that, it says, I promise to pay. And then the actual dollar figure is listed. I've looked at mine 100 times. That is exactly what it says. Then the promissory note mentions the installment payments and interest. Then the note says, in return for a loan that I have received. Then a date is listed on that note. The question is, when you went to the title company or escrow company and signed all the documents for your mortgage, had you already received a loan? That's an important. The note that you signed says at the very top, in return for a loan that I have received. What this is telling you is that you have received a loan sometime before the date you are signing that note. And guess what? Your real promissory note is your application that you sign months before you foreclose. I mean, not foreclose. Before you close. Now think back. You always put in an application and a little down payment. Am I right? As soon as you see a house that you want, you let the people know, your real estate know that you want that house. And they say, well, we got to fill out an application. And you need to put a little bit down so nobody else can get to the house. That application creates the money that you're going to use to pay off. That's why they say in the promissory note that you've already received the loan. Ain't that something? Now, all of that is fraud because they never informed you of that.
Yep.
You see where I'm coming from?
The whole thing is fraud.
Yes. The question is, when you went to the title company and escrow company, you had already received the loan. That is important. That is an important question. The note that you signed says at the top, in return for a loan that I have received. What this is telling you is you received the loan sometime before the date that you signed the note. Let's say that.
And they pulled it out of your creditor. They pulled, according to Johnny, he said that the all caps name is at the bottom and that the creditor name is at the top of the loan.
That's true. But that one is on your mortgage. I'm thinking on your, I got to go back and look, but I know you signed your upper cap name at the bottom of your application.
Yeah.
Now the question is,
unfortunately, I haven't done it. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't done a mortgage yet, but this is good knowledge to have going in.
Yes, because you're going to get screwed and tattooed if you don't know what you're looking for. Okay? The note that you signed said, oh yeah. Let's say that you signed the note on February the 12th. What the words in return for a loan I have received really means that in sometime before the 12th you received the loan. In fact, the fact is you did not actually receive a loan before that date. Matter of fact, you never received any kind of a loan at all, at any time. There was no loan received or provided you. These whole loaning you money to buy a house is a complete, total fraud. Now that couple of paragraphs in itself is your first violation that you can use when you start suing these people because they lied to you right from the beginning. And nobody told you that you were signing these papers and you had already received a loan, which you never saw. There never was a loan. The fact is, you did not receive a loan before the date that you signed the note. You didn't see a cashier's check in the mail a few days before you went and signed these papers, did you? You didn't get any kind of electronic transfer into your checking account before you signed either. When we go to the title company and sign the mortgage document, we see the words at the top, in return for a loan that I have received. We might think, I'll sign this, and after I sign it, I guess I have received a loan. But that is not what the documents say. If there is ever a legal controversy concerning whether you actually received a loan prior to signing or assume you received a loan at the time of signing, which side will you win? The side that argues their assumption or the side that argues the exact words? On the paper, you sign. You know the answer to that. It's the words on the document that will win. You have said, I received a loan, and you did not.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a document that states, in return for a loan that I have received, and we know for a fact that no loan was received, something odd is going on. When it says, have received in the past tense, as though a past event has already occurred by the date you are signing the note. We know that it was a meaning for that. It was by design, as you say. Everything in legal terms and legalese means something. The meaning of the word have received is the same event already happened. If you know that it didn't happen, something is wrong. Somebody is not telling the truth. Who is not telling the truth? As you take a close look at the note, something very interesting is taking place. Did you know that you created that note? Did you know that you created the deed of trust? If you closely examine the wording on the note and the deed of trust, it will begin to make sense to you. It says, I will do this, I will do that, in return for a loan that I have received. I promise to pay. I understand this. I will do this, etc. Proceeds through the note. You realize that these are statements that have printed out for you, that they have printed out for you, but you are the one who is signing the document. So it looks like you have produced and provided these documents, these statements to them. In signing these documents, you assert that in return for a loan that I received, it looks like they are tricking you into signing a statement that isn't true. You might think, hey, they are making me sign a statement that isn't true. It's a lie. By doing this, the bank is putting that lie that you received a loan into your mouth. You are the one signing it and saying it, and that gives them a privilege to say the borrower says and agrees that they received a loan. So we'll proceed on the basis of what they said and signed to.
Wow. Wow. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, eh?
Ain't that something?
Wow.
They signed the paper saying that they've received the loan. We go ahead and behave as though they did not receive it, and we require them to make payments. God. That is not fair transaction when no loan was provided to you in transaction. No money was actually provided to you as a loan. In return for providing a loan to you, you have to pay the bank a payment every month for the next 30 days, 30 years. But the seller got paid nothing. Right. Where did the money come from? The next question that comes into play is, if no loan was provided, where did the money come from to pay the seller of the house? The guy I brought the house from got paid. Where did the money come from? This is where the whole loan process gets interesting. You got to get a copy of this and read this, Andre.
Yeah.
I'll compare what happened in a normal real estate transaction with an analogy. Let's say that I advertise my car for sale. I'm still driving a 1999 Honda Civic, even though it has 120,000 miles on it. You know about Honda. They run for a long time. So I put on Craigslist for $2,400, hoping I could sell it at least $2,000. You see, it advertised. You come over, take a look at the Honda. You offer $2,000. So I say, that sounds great. You have a deal. You tell me you would like to pay by check. Is that a deal? I say, sure, I understand. People don't want to walk around with $2,000 cash all the time. You can write me a check. However, I'm not going to let you take the car until the check clears. You say, that's fine. We agree. We have a deal. You write me a check, I give you a receipt, and that protects your side of the deal. I take that check, I deposit it in my account, I draw funds off of it, the rest of it I leave in the account. Within a couple of days, you check your bank account online, you see that there is $2,000 less in your bank account. Furthermore, I can see that there is $2,000 more in my bank account. Your check has cleared. That means you're going to come and knock on my door. We both acknowledge that the check is cleared. You say to me that it's time for you to take the car and the title. But I say to you, all right, I'll give you the keys to the car, but I've decided to change the deal. Wow. I'm not going to transfer the title over to you. You can take possession, but I'm not going to actually give you the title to the car until you pay me $45 a month for the next 20 years. Would you do that? That's crazy. That's crazy.
So you're paying for it twice.
Yes. That would never happen to anyone. No one would ever agree to that. But that's what you do with a house. Yet, every day of the week, in thousands of mortgage transactions all over the country, this type of scenario is taking place. Vehicles and escrow officers are writing these loans, making borrowers enter into these unfair arrangements for one exception to the car buying scenario, and that is disclosure. That's the word you got to remember, Andre. They did not give you full disclosure.
Yeah.
I disclosed to you when you came to take full possession of the car that we both understood that the payment in full had been made. That's really the only difference between this car sale scenario and when people get into these mortgage loan arrangements. They never tell you that the car was paid for when you come back to get it.
And that's why it takes you so long to close on the house.
Yes.
It's never really closing on it.
Yes. They have to trick you, and they do it through time delay and your anxiousness to get into the new house.
Yeah.
And when the time is right, it'll flip so fast, nobody will ask questions. And there is not disclosing that there actually isn't any lending going on. They're not telling you that the note you signed is not a promissory note. It is actually a cashier's check or bank note when you look at how it is structured. When you sign your name to the note and hand that over to the lender, this is what happens to the note. The lender takes the note as though it were a cashier's check or a personal check and deposited that document into their bank account as if paid in full. The banks accept these promissory note documents as negotiable instruments and treat them as a cashier's check or cash deposit. That promissory note becomes a cash deposit to the bankers who deposited it into their account. It becomes cash to the bankers, and you pay off your house with cash as far as the bank is concerned by signing that promissory note at escrow. How the bank treats your note on their records. In this fractional banking system, for every dollar that is deposited in any particular bank branch, that branch has the ability to issue $10 of credit. That's that hypothecate. Remember I told you that the other night. They hypothecate a deposit. You put in $1 and they can lend $10 because they can
Absolutely.
get nine zeros they can put on that $1.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Woo, but it works. Your cash deposit, the promissory note you signed at escrow, creates an asset they can use. Think of $250,000 note that is put in the deposit. That means $2.5 million to the bank. It's a great deal for the bank. It's not a great deal for you. The bank did not disclose to you that when you come to the escrow table, which is the closing table, to sign all the paperwork, that payment in full was already made by you. You were fooled into issuing to them what you thought was merely a promise to pay, but they took your promissory note as a payment in full. You paid in full. Woo! This is a 20-page article, and I ain't going to be able to deal with all of it. But I'm going to read it, I can tell you that. I am going to read it and figure out, because this thing is heavy, because we're only talking about just one violation that everybody's guilty of having. Not guilty, but you have access to this one violation. That is the promissory note. They did not give you full disclosure of the trickology that they used on you. That you never received any cash. See, you got to have more than just that, but this is a good start. So they haven't even went into securitization because they've already tricked you into paying in full and you didn't know it. They've already put 9 zeros on the back of whatever your note was. Now, within 90 days, they are prepared to sell your note to New York to get it on the open market so they can securitize it and sell it in the open market, and then come back to the lower borrower and get monthly payments. Racket ain't a good word for it. This has got to be RICO. And everybody's involved because the judge is supposed to be sure that the paperwork is in order and never have the banks or the law firms ever prove that they own the house. So how can they take it?
Unbelievable.
It is. It is. It is unbelievable, brother. And it's so unbelievable that it's kind of scary. Kind of scary. All right, we're at the top of the hour, and I can finish this baby out on Tuesday. I'll do a part 2 on Tuesday to finish this up, because this one here, this article here, I'm on the 6th page, and it's got 20 pages. You can imagine what you're in store for when I get to the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. I'm telling you.
I'm gonna be sending you something in a few minutes. I just got through doing your radio drop, so
okay.
Your station identification. So be on the lookout for that email. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stay online and play this jam again.
That's what's
because
up.
we got about 20 seconds left, and I hope everybody. I didn't get a lot of callers today, but I got enough that they understand, or they should understand, where I'm at. And they can call me if they have any questions. Area code 313-656-7283. You can call me. And you can go to my website, ronmarch.com. And we still have our DVD in order on at the end of the weekend. Andre, you still on target?
Yes, I'm finishing up with it right now, so I should have something for you in the next day or two here. So
okay,
we're looking good.
How many parts are we going to have? Part 1, Part 2, Part 10? How many? Or do you know yet?
I'll let you know. I don't know yet. I'll let you know. Yeah. All
right. All right, good people. Until Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ron March will sign off, and I appreciate it, the audience, and I appreciate the time. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to do a part 2 come Tuesday.